Next team, the Washington Capitals, who we know it's all about the postseason for them. They've won President's Cups, have done nothing with it. They've been a top seed, top cup, and they've done nothing with that either. So they've been up and down this season, right? So they've lost 5 in a row. They won 3 in a row. Now they're in a little slide here, 2 in a row. It's about a quarter of the way through the season, they're 3 points out of the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Dan, is it too early to be concerned that they may not even make the playoffs this year?
I mean, I think that was probably a concern entering the season. They certainly were never like a done deal, a shoo-in to make the playoffs. Yeah. I guess at some point it matters a little bit what you're watching sports for. If you're only watching for the championship, or if you're kind of watching for the process a little bit, you know what I mean? Because if a team doesn't make the playoff, I mean, are we going to stop watching every team that is kind of 50-50 for the playoffs or whatever? There's some kind of interest in how this team plays under Trotz in the first year and how some of these younger guys are playing and whether Holtby can regain his form. Certainly in the back of your mind, I think you have to be wondering, is this a playoff team? But I think it's, in terms of like panic and getting up on the ledge and stuff, it's way, way, way too early for that.
Yeah, I would say apart from the Redskins, there is a malaise that if the Caps and the Wizards are just so that I don't think people are going to tune in. I mean, they want to see the Bulls have won a championship, right? I mean, so it's happened in the city. So people here want to see it again. The Caps have not done anything with the roster that's won had the best record in the regular season.
Yeah, but when you're playing 82 games, it's just like, at some point you have to enjoy the games for what they are. They're like weird sporting events with men in funny
I'm sure we'll talk about the Nationals in the same way next year. But back to the Caps, Keith, your thoughts? I mean, is it too early to think this team may not even be a playoff team?
It's not too early to think it, but it's too early to worry too much about it. Dan hit on a good thing, the word, the process.
Yeah.
Remember that you've hired an established coach, guy who was the coach for 15 years in Nashville. He has a way of doing things, and he's here, not unlike Jay Gruden, to establish a culture, to turn this from what had sort of gotten away under Adam Oates, turn this into his style of team. And so you see him tinkering with the lines, and you see him experimenting in these first 15, 20 games right now. They're 17 games in at this point. I wouldn't panic. You certainly at some point you want to see signs of them going in the right direction, but this is not time necessarily to worry about whether they aren't going to make the playoffs.
Scott, they've been inconsistent this year. Is that a concern that you have to have that consistency to be a playoff team, or are you not worried because it's too early in the season?
I think it's too early to stress out about the point totals and the standings. You see so many teams bunched around that 8th spot.
Yeah.
I mean, they win a couple games and all of a sudden we're talking about whether or not they can secure the 3 seed in the playoffs. And then they lose 2 and we're talking about whether they're not going to make the playoffs at all. The more concerning thing for me is Barry Trotz kind of blowing up a couple weeks ago after the 6-5 loss to Arizona,
right?
Talking about the behavior issues. And then kind of an update today from Alex Pruitt. He says that some of those behavior issues are gone, but we're still acting like we're trying to build Rome in a day, and there's some twists and turns. And we've seen it: win a couple, play really well, lose a couple.
Yeah.
They've been up and down, and the record shows it. And I would hope that, like Keith said, it's a process, and that once they adjust to this system, that they can get on a roll here in December.
Okay.
I think a big long-term question is going to be whether Holtby is what we thought he was before the season, or whether he is what he's been so far this season, which has not been good.